They told me I wasn't one of them. They told me I was different, and perhaps that was true. But what they didn't know, what they could never know, was that I had a secret so powerful, it could change everything. A secret I had buried deep within, carefully guarded, hidden from the very people who thought they had figured me out. Can you imagine standing before a group of people you've known your whole life, and hearing those words? That you don't belong? That you aren't like them? It stings, doesn't it? The thought that no matter how hard you try, no matter how much of yourself you pour into the world, you're always an outsider. I had felt it my entire life. The eyes that looked at me as though they knew something I didn't. The hushed whispers when I wasn't around. The subtle dismissals. They told me I wasn't one of them. They made me feel like I was nothing. But what they didn't know was that everything I had worked so hard to keep hidden would soon come to light, and it would turn their world upside down. This wasn't just a secret. It was a force. A power I had learned to control but never truly understood. They thought they knew me. They thought I was weak, a mere pawn in their game. Little did they know I was the one holding the cards. I had always been the one in control, even when they made me feel invisible. The moment they cast me aside, thinking I wasn't capable of anything special, I realized something. I wasn't just different. I was special in a way they couldn't comprehend. And the time had come to show them. It all started with one simple conversation. The room was filled with chatter, the hum of people gossiping and laughing, unaware of the storm that was brewing. I stood in the corner, watching them, feeling the weight of their stares, their judgments. James, the leader of the group, had just finished talking about something trivial, as he always did. His voice was loud, demanding attention, while his eyes glided over me with a sense of superiority. Then it happened. He looked at me, his gaze colder than I had ever seen. "You know," he said with a smirk, "you've never really been one of us, have you?" The word struck me like a slap across the face. His words echoed in the room, bouncing off the walls as if everyone else shared the same belief. I felt the weight of their collective gaze. For a moment, time stood still. My heart raced, my hands shook, but something inside me refused to crumble. Was I really not one of them? Or had I simply been hiding in plain sight? I held my ground. I couldn't let them see how their words affected me. But inside, the storm raged. They didn't know the truth about me. They didn't know the power that lay hidden beneath my exterior. And now it was time to show them. I had always kept this secret to myself, afraid of the consequences if it were ever revealed. But I couldn't live in their shadow anymore. Not when the truth could change everything. What would they think if they knew I wasn't just a follower? What if they knew I had the ability to destroy everything they had built? I didn't know if I was ready for it. But the world would never be the same once they found out. And so, the stage was set. The secret was waiting. I just had to wait for the right moment to let it slip. It's often said that we are the sum of our experiences, the product of every person we meet, every lesson we learn, every mistake we make. For me, those words have never felt more true. But what most people don't know is that behind the person they see today, there was once a girl who didn't belong. A girl who had learned early on to keep her head down, her secrets close, and her heart guarded. My name is Emily, though in some circles I'm known by another name. In my small town, I wasn't the popular girl. I wasn't the one everyone whispered about in the halls, or the one who commanded attention. I was the quiet one, the invisible one. It wasn't that I didn't try to fit in. I did. I tried so hard to be like everyone else. I laughed at the jokes, I wore the right clothes, and I did what I thought I was supposed to do. But no matter how hard I tried, I always felt like an outsider. I never quite fit, and that realization was enough to make me retreat into myself, to build walls that no one could break through. The first time I truly understood this feeling was in middle school. I had always been a little different. My family wasn't like the other families in the neighborhood. We didn't have a picture-perfect life. My dad was always working late, and my mom was distant, always lost in her own world. I spent more time alone than most kids, and that's when I discovered my secret, my gift or curse, depending on how you looked at it. I had the ability to see things that others couldn't. It started with small things at first. I would catch glimpses of events before they happened, an argument between friends, a letter someone hadn't received yet, the way the sun would set in a particular place at a certain time. It wasn't always clear, and I didn't know how to control it. But as the years went on, my gift became stronger, more vivid. I began to understand the depth of my ability. It wasn't just about seeing the future. It was about knowing things that no one else could know. Understanding emotions that people try to hide. I could feel when something was wrong, even if no one had said a word. And most importantly, I could sense the truth, even when it was buried deep within someone's soul. But I kept it a secret. I was afraid of what would happen if anyone found out. What if they thought I was crazy? What if they didn't understand? What if they tried to use my abilities for their own gain? So I stayed silent. I watched. I listened. I learned. And I waited for the right moment, the right time to let my secret slip. Over the years, I built relationships with the people around me, but they were always surface-level connections. James, the leader of the group, was one of the first people I met when I moved to this town. He was charming, confident, and the kind of person everyone seemed to gravitate towards. He had a magnetic personality, one that made you want to be near him, to be part of his world. I wanted to belong, so I tried to fit in with him and his circle. But deep down, I knew I wasn't like them. They were the loud, outgoing types. They thrived in the spotlight, while I preferred to stay in the shadows. Yet, there was something about James that intrigued me. He wasn't like the others. He wasn't just charming. There was something else, something dark beneath the surface. Then there was Clara, my childhood friend. Clara and I had grown up together, our bond unbreakable since we were young. She knew everything about me, or so I thought. But even with Clara, I kept my abilities hidden. She always seemed to accept me for who I was, but there were moments when I wondered if she knew. There were moments when I saw the way her eyes would linger on me, the subtle way she would ask questions that hinted at things I'd never told her. Was it possible she had started to sense the truth? Had I been fooling everyone, including myself, into thinking I was just like them? And then there was the moment I realized how much I had been holding back. It was at the school talent show, of all places. Everyone was gathered in the auditorium, laughing and cheering as students performed. James was up on stage, joking with the crowd, basking in the attention. And then, out of nowhere, I saw it. A vision, sharp and clear, like a flash of lightning in the middle of a storm. I saw James, not the confident, charming leader, but a man who was hiding something much darker. I could see it in his eyes, the fear, the guilt. He was covering up something, and I knew it wasn't just a trivial mistake. It was something big. The vision hit me like a ton of bricks, and for the first time in my life, I realized that the secret I had been keeping wasn't just about me. It was about them. Everyone around me was hiding something. No one was truly what they appeared to be. And the more I thought about it, the more I realized that the truth could shake their entire world. If I were to expose my secret, if I were to let them know what I could do, everything would change. But I wasn't ready.
Not yet.
Because the truth didn't just threaten their lives, it threatened mine as well. I had spent so long hiding in the shadows, afraid of the consequences, but I couldn't stay hidden forever. I knew it was only a matter of time before they found out. And when they did, there would be no going back. Secrets have a way of creeping up on you, slowly, silently, until they're no longer buried, but burning at the surface. And for me, the moment that happened, everything shifted. It started on a cold Friday morning, the kind that paints frost on windows and makes your breath hang in the air like fog. The town was quiet, wrapped in a sleepy haze. But I couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. It wasn't a vision this time, it was a weight in my chest, a pulse of energy that told me something was about to go very wrong. At school, the whispers began. First in the hallway, then in the cafeteria, then in every corner of every room I walked into. They said she's not one of us. She's always been strange. Maybe she's hiding something. I tried to ignore it, keep my head down. But when Clara looked at me with that same puzzled suspicion, the one she never used to wear around me, I knew the questions had started getting louder. And worse, I hadn't even done anything yet. But someone must have sensed it. It was James who approached me during lunch. His smile was too polite, too rehearsed. "Hey, Emily. Can we talk?" My heart skipped. Not because I was flattered, not because I liked him, but because I knew. His aura was vibrating, like static, and his energy, usually cocky and confident, felt defensive and nervous. We walked toward the courtyard. The cold wind made my skin prickle. "So," he began, rocking on his heels, "there's a rumor going around." "About you." "That you see things." There it was, out in the open. I kept my face neutral. Rumors always go around. He tilted his head, eyes narrowing. "Yeah, but this one? It's different. People are saying you knew about Mia's accident before it happened. That you warned her not to get in the car." I did. But I hadn't meant for anyone else to hear. I stayed silent. He leaned closer. "Tell me, Emily, are you hiding something?" And in that split second, I realized this wasn't just curiosity. It was fear. He wasn't asking for answers. He was checking if I was a threat. I gave him the safest reply I could. "You think I'm psychic?" He smirked, but there was no humor in his eyes. "Let's just say, oh, people talk. And they're starting to wonder what you really are." That was the moment the wall cracked. Over the next few days, the isolation deepened. People who used to smile at me avoided eye contact. Friends suddenly became strangers. Teachers hesitated before calling on me, as if I'd cursed them just by speaking. The whisper campaign grew sharper. Then came the confrontation. It was Clara. She stormed into my room one evening, her face pale, her eyes wild. "Why didn't you tell me?" she snapped. I didn't even have to ask what she meant. The pain in her voice made it clear. She'd found out. "I trusted you," she said. "I told you everything, and you were hiding this the entire time?" "I didn't know how," I replied, my voice barely a whisper. "You saw what happened to Mia. You could have stopped it. Why didn't you tell anyone?" "I tried," I whispered. "I told her to stay home that day. I told her she'd get hurt." "But you didn't tell me," she shouted. I looked at her, really looked. Her energy was radiating betrayal and fear. But underneath all that was heartbreak. She wasn't angry because of the secret. She was angry because I didn't trust her with it. "I was scared," I said softly. "You have no idea what it feels like to carry something like this. To feel everything, know things you're not supposed to know, and then walk around pretending to be normal." There was silence. "I thought you were my best friend," she said at last. "Now I don't even know who you are." And just like that, she walked away. After Clara, it all unraveled. James, now fully suspicious, began organizing subtle interventions. At first, it was just questions from friends. "What else do you know? Are you cursed? Do you even feel normal things?" Then it escalated. My locker was broken into. A cruel message was scratched into the door, which I received anonymous texts warning me to stay away from certain people. Someone even slid a note into my backpack that said, "You're not one of us. And you never will be." But the real shock came when I saw a vision, one that changed everything. It was James. He was arguing with someone, an older man, dressed in a uniform. Their voices were muffled, but their body language was unmistakable. James was covering something up. Something serious. Suddenly, a burst of images flooded my mind. A car crash, a missing file, a bribe. My head spun. The truth hit me hard. James wasn't just suspicious of me. He was afraid that I might see what he had done. And then I remembered the day Mia had her accident. James had driven past the crash site before anyone else got there. He had brushed it off, saying he just happened to be nearby. But in my vision, I saw something else. He caused it. It wasn't an accident. It was a setup. And now I understood everything. Why the gossip started. Why the group turned on me. Why James suddenly wanted me out of the picture. Because my gift wasn't just a curiosity. It was a threat. He knew I'd eventually see too much. I couldn't stay quiet anymore. I wrote everything down. Every vision. Every detail. And I sent it to Clara. I didn't know if she'd read it. I didn't know if she'd even believe me. But it was all I could do. That night, the fear clung to me like a shadow. I couldn't sleep. I kept hearing footsteps outside my window, seeing flashes of light, feeling like something or someone was watching me. And then the dream came. It wasn't a normal dream. It felt more like a message. A woman stood before me. Her eyes glowed gold, her voice echoing like wind through trees. "You were never meant to blend in," she said. "You were meant to be seen." I woke up crying, not from fear, but from the truth of it. All this time, I thought my secret made me dangerous. But maybe it made me necessary. Because someone had to see what others refused to. Someone had to tell the truth, even when no one wanted to hear it. And I finally realized that someone was me. The days after I sent that letter to Clara were the longest I had ever lived through. Every footstep behind me felt like a threat. Every look someone gave me felt like a judgment. I felt raw, exposed. But I also felt something else. Strong. I had finally stopped running. The truth was out, and now I had to deal with whatever came next. It was Clara who broke the silence. She texted me, "Meet me. Tonight. The lake." My heart skipped. I didn't know what to expect. Forgiveness? Anger? A trap? But I went. The lake was quiet, the stars scattered like diamonds above us, and the moon casting a pale silver light across the water. Clara stood at the edge, arms crossed, looking out. "I read your letter," she said, without turning. I waited. "I don't know what I believe anymore," she continued. "But I know what I saw in your eyes when you told me the truth. You weren't lying." I swallowed the lump in my throat. "Clara, you should have told me earlier," she interrupted. "But I get it now. You weren't hiding from me. You were hiding from yourself." Silence passed between us like a wave. "I'm not going to lie and say everything's okay," she said, finally turning to me. "But I'm here. I believe you. And I think it's time you stop carrying this alone." Tears welled in my eyes. She reached for my hand. The weight of isolation I'd carried for years suddenly didn't feel so heavy. The next day, everything changed. Clara had told me his brother, David, about the letter. He read it, then showed it to his dad, who just so happened to be a retired police officer. And that's when the dominoes started to fall. David and his father requested to reopen the case around Mia's accident. They said new evidence had come to light. They didn't say what it was, but I knew. Suddenly, James was sweating. He stopped talking to his usual group, started skipping classes. His confidence cracked, and that cocky aura he always carried? Gone. But I wasn't done yet. I had another vision. This time, it came like thunder in the night, no warning, just impact. I saw James again. This time, he was burning papers in a garage, talking on the phone, pacing. I couldn't hear the words, but I could feel the panic, the desperation. He was trying to erase something. And worse, he knew someone was watching. He knew it was me. The next few days were chaos. David and his dad shared what they'd found with the authorities. An internal investigation was launched. Then came the big blow. They uncovered a surveillance clip from a gas station security camera showing James near Mia's crash site before the accident. His story fell apart. The school erupted. It wasn't just about James anymore. It was about the lies, the cover-up, the cruelty. And, surprisingly, it was also about me. The same students who had mocked me now looked at me with awe. "You knew, didn't you? I always thought you were different, but I never realized." And for the first time in my life, I didn't flinch under the spotlight. I didn't hide. Yes, I had a gift. Yes, I saw things others didn't. But maybe that didn't make me a freak. Maybe that made me a guide. James was suspended pending investigation. The night they took him in for questioning, I had one last vision. It wasn't violent. It wasn't chaotic. It was him sitting alone in a room, head in his hands, crying. I didn't feel pity. I didn't feel joy. I felt release. It was over. But just when I thought things were calming down, something else happened. Another vision. This one wasn't about danger. It was about purpose. I saw myself standing before a group of people. Not classmates. Not friends. Strangers. All of them looking at me, waiting. I was speaking, teaching, guiding, helping them see what was hidden in plain sight. That's when I realized my story wasn't ending. It was beginning. Clara and I repaired what had been broken. It wasn't instant. Trust takes time. But she stood by me. The rumors faded. People moved on. Life returned to normal. Except I was no longer pretending. I started journaling my visions. I read books about empaths, intuitives, seers throughout history. I even began helping others who were quietly struggling with things they couldn't explain. And slowly, people started coming to me. I had a dream that keeps repeating. What do you think it means? I feel like I'm being watched, but no one's there. Could it be? They didn't laugh. They didn't mock. They listened. And I guided. One evening, Clara and I sat under the stars again. The same lake, the same sky. But this time, peace surrounded us. I always thought people like you existed only in stories, she said. I smiled. Maybe that's what we all are. Walking stories waiting to be told. She turned to me, eyes bright. So, what's next? I looked up, letting the starlight reflect in my eyes. I don't know, I said. But whatever it is, I won't be afraid anymore. Because now I wasn't alone. Because now I knew the truth. Because now I was finally ready to live as the person I was always meant to be. What do you do when the world tells you that you don't belong? What do you do when they look at you, laugh, whisper, point, and label you as the other, the strange one, the mistake? You rise. You rise not because you're fearless, but because you finally understand. You were never meant to fit in. You were meant to stand out. I used to think my secret was a curse, a burden, something I had to hide away in the shadows. I believed that being different meant being alone. I thought that if anyone ever knew the real me, saw what I could see, felt what I could feel, they'd run away in fear or disgust. But I was wrong. My gift, the one they called crazy, became my compass. It guided me through darkness, helped me uncover lies, protected those who had no voice, and exposed truths that were buried deep. And now I understand. The very thing they tried to shame me for was the very thing that saved us all. So, I ask you, what if the part of you that you hide the most is actually your power? What if the thing you're most afraid people will find out is the exact thing that could change your world? Don't silence your truth to make others comfortable. Don't shrink yourself to make others feel bigger. You are not here to be invisible. You are here to be seen. Because maybe, just maybe, someone out there needs your story to awaken their own. So, if you've ever felt like you didn't belong, if you've ever been told you're too much, too weird, too emotional, too intense, I want you to know, you're not alone. You're not broken. You're brilliant. And maybe, just maybe, you're not one of them, because you were always meant to be something greater. So, tell your truth. Stand tall in your light. And walk forward knowing this. The world doesn't need another copy. It needs the real you.